listening to B2B Tech Talk with Ingram Micro, the place to learn about new technology and technological advances before they become mainstream. This podcast is sponsored by Ingram Micro's Imagine Next. It's not about the destination. It's about going someplace you never thought possible. Go to imaginenext.ingrammicro.com to find out more. Let's get into it.
Welcome to B2B Tech Talk with Ingram Micro. I'm your host, Shelby Skrhak, and our guests today are Jon Busshart, BTC engineer, and Russell Fenton, solution sales specialist 2, both of Ingram Micro. Jon and Russell, welcome.
Hello, how you doing today?
Hey, Shelby, thanks for having us.
Excellent. Well, today we are talking about how Ingram Micro's Business Transformation Center, or the BTC, can accelerate a partner's GreenLake opportunities. But first, Jon, I guess let's just get on the same page here and start very basic. What are we talking about? What is GreenLake?
Sure, absolutely. So GreenLake is a way of managing hybrid IT through the cloud. So on-prem hardware with a cloud-like perspective. And I know a lot of people think of GreenLake in the traditional form, which is, a cost model around on-prem equipment. So a lot of people have issues around CapEx, and GreenLake allows us to pay for what we utilize on a monthly basis. So in the case of some storage, because people seem to understand that pretty well, if I order 50 terabytes and I only use 40 of that, I only pay for 40 terabytes, on a monthly basis. So that's traditionally what we've been doing with GreenLake, but it's been expanding quite a bit with different features. So that's one side of managing a hybrid IT environment, again, on-prem hardware with a cloud-like perspective. But there's the day-to-day maintenance of this as well. So things like provisioning volumes, updating servers, creating networks, and things like that. And that's really the way I see GreenLake as it has evolved.
Well, yeah. So Russell, and we're going to unpack a lot of what you just said. But okay, so when we're talking about those GreenLake opportunities for Ingram Micro partners specifically, what does that mean? What type of conversations are Ingram Micro partners having with their customers about GreenLake?
Yeah, no, so absolutely. So, when the cloud came, before everything was purchased in a traditional CapEx motion. You paid for everything up front, even if you're over provisioned. Or you leased it and you kind of were guessing how much capacity you needed for the next couple of years. And with GreenLake, with a metered environment, you only pay for what you use, subject to a reserve. And it gives people the ability to have that cloud-like experience with flexibility, ability to scale, pay as you go, ease of use, all of those things. But it recognizes the reality that we're all in a hybrid IT environment, meaning there's still a need for workloads to stay on-prem for a bunch of different reasons, whether it's a latency issue, whether it's regulatory, confidential information, anything like that. You need one foot on the ground, but people want to get into the cloud. So the cloud has definitely changed that. And so now there's all these opportunities to really get in and assess these environments and be able to have a seamless view of the entire hybrid estate, right? So what are these opportunities? Well, a partner might have a potential deal on the horizon with an end user. Maybe they have a relationship with an end user. Maybe they sold them equipment a couple of years ago and they know it's coming end of life. So this end user could be talking to multiple different partners about, hey, I've got a couple of workloads that we need to replace, that their equipment's going to go end of life here. What kind of ideas do you have? And so some partners might answer, hey, more CapEx. Some might say, hey, I think I can get a really good lease through this other vendor, right? And so the vendors who ultimately lead with GreenLake, they're going to start the conversation by, instead of just saying, what is this one piece of equipment that you need to replace? Instead, they're going to have the conversation of, what are the business problems that we're trying to solve for here? And ultimately, what does it mean to hold on to your own dollars? When you use a consumption-based model, you're going to be able to reduce that over provisioning and free up cash for all their projects. So it really changes the paradigm of the IT refresh cycle. So some partners may say, hey, let's just Band-Aid this. Hey, let's use an old solution that we're comfortable with. But our partners that are leading with GreenLake are challenging the whole idea of how you consume infrastructure in the first place.
Yeah, you have the ability to actually look at what you're using today and put a bill next to it and see that. Where today, a lot of resellers, what they do is, hey, I don't know, we're going to drop this whole big pile of money on something today, and then we're going to hope we're going to utilize it in the future, right?
And then Shelby, the other thing about the opportunity is, one, there's a great financial structure for our partners. So there's good financial benefits for them. It's a profitable motion for them to be making. But the other thing is that it's going to put our partners right in the middle of the end user's business. They're going to have visibility. They're going to have line of sight to what that whole IT, that hybrid, environment looks like. And so that's going to bring a lot of opportunities to pull in other workloads, to cross-sell, to upsell, to really be that trusted advisor in the middle of the end user's business and be able to expand that relationship. So instead of just, hey, here's the Band-Aid for now, see you in 4 or 5 years when that Band-Aid wears off, let's get in there, let's change the whole infrastructure paradigm. And then that's going to present more opportunities to expand GreenLake throughout their environment.
Russell, do you find that a lot of Ingram Micro partners are working with their clients or their customers that are already in the hybrid space? Are they really just starting these kind of digital transformation discussions?
I think almost all of the end users are pretty much in that hybrid space. A lot of them want to go full cloud, but they're met with the reality that there's these legacy workloads where it's cost prohibitive or the regulatory stuff that we talked about before. And they can't really do it. And so I think the conversation comes down to, well, what do you like so much about the cloud? Well, we like the economics of it. Okay, well, we can still have that with GreenLake. We can still get the performance and security of an on-prem. It's going to work with your public cloud offering, so you're still going to get the benefits of that. But overall, they're going to have an experience, a cloud-based experience, because it's going to be flexible and it's going to be pay as you go.
Yeah, what was that term that you used, Russ? It was the cloud is not a destination, it's an experience. I love that.
Yeah, and that's taken right from HPE's CEO, Antonio Neri. The cloud is not a destination, it's an experience. And that's what it is. People want ease of use. And when the cloud came, it changed everything, just like Netflix changes everything, right? And so people have these expectations now. And ultimately what they want is ease of use, pay as you go, the ability to offload service to somebody else. And so GreenLake opens that door for our partners.
If a partner was a little bit newer to some of the regulatory issues that are facing companies, preventing them from going to the cloud, I guess, can we just recap some of those issues? I mean, what is, I guess, holding companies back from being able to go full cloud? What are those regulatory, I guess, parameters then around, is it banking or healthcare? I guess if we can just discuss that a little bit.
Yeah, you just hit on two of the major ones. So in financial industry, there's a lot of state and federal regulations about where this information actually sits, how it's transferred, whether or not you have an electronic paper trail to show how you're moving this data. Same thing with hospitals and healthcare conglomerates. They have a lot of protected health information that's confidential, and they've got to not only keep it secret or whatever, but also keep that the accountability to be able to show what they've done with this information. And so types of workloads like that, they're just not suitable for a third party to host all the security, because that's really what you're doing when you're using the public cloud. It's going to be sitting on someone else's system. You don't have access to that system. You don't have control over it, right? So any kind of information where there's a mandate that you maintain control over it and the processes, then it's got to stay on-prem, right? Outside of the regulatory space, it's more of like performance and security, data gravity. Right. If you need to be close to the information for it to work in time, latency. So we have end users who are doing payment processing, for example. They need that sub-millisecond kind of performance, and that really only comes with an on-prem solution.
Yeah, and the cloud's answer to something like that is you need to re-architect your entire application in order to go into the cloud. And then a lot of customers are saying, well, what we have works. We just need to modernize it or move it forward a little bit, right?
Well, so Jon, I wonder if we can talk about some of the misconceptions about GreenLake. You mentioned at the very top that maybe there's an assumption about kind of GreenLake traditional, but what are some of those maybe outdated ideas that GreenLake is this or GreenLake is that?
Yeah. Certainly there's traditional GreenLake, which is still around, so I almost hate to use the term traditional, but GreenLake, as a lot of people know it, is the kind of pay for what you utilize on a monthly basis. But they've certainly expanded it to be able to also do your day-to-day management. Again, the experience of the cloud is not only the cost model, it's the management capability of being able to manage resources across the globe centrally. And GreenLake's starting to bring that into place. And we've had discussions in the past about the Data Services Cloud Console, or DSCC, that sits underneath with GreenLake. Something new is compute ops management. That'd be management of client servers from the cloud. So updating firmware and things like that. And then they've also wrapped underneath GreenLake Aruba Central, which has existed separately for a while, but they brought it under that umbrella. And that is, managing on-prem HPE networking equipment, Aruba networking equipment from the cloud, whether it's wireless. And HPE is the only company that has the full stack of technologies. They're not only going at the compute, the storage, and the networking, but also at the cost model and wrapping it up into one package and providing that. Right? So that's a differentiator across the industry as opposed to any of the HP competitors that are out there.
And of course, those pieces that we're talking about, those are through some of HPE's acquisitions, right?
Well, some of them are. Certainly, Aruba has been a part of the fold for a while. They're expanding out the solutions as well to go beyond. Like, we had a few conversations about the Data Services Cloud Console, but they've are expanding that now. They even have a backup and recovery service now that they've integrated in, which is a great answer just for somebody who's afraid if they do get ransomware, what kind of procedure do they need to go through where they don't have to pay the ransom. That's a great story that gets wrapped around in that. Another misconception, since we're on this, that I see out there is that GreenLake is only for very large enterprise opportunities. I'm sure, Russ, you could probably pop in here. I think I've seen deals that are as low as a single storage system now, or DHCI is really popular from HP, which is kind of a hyper-converged solution that would fit comfortably within a GreenLake solution these days.
And Shelby, I would just say that to add on to some of these misconceptions, definitely that we're enterprise. It's right in our name, Hewlett-Packard Enterprise, right? So you're thinking large, but the reality is that they've been trying to make smaller and smaller entry points. Our smallest deal right now is probably about $40,000 IT spend over a 4-year period. So that's pretty low, but under $1,000 a month. And there is an effort for HP to keep reaching some of these smaller end users. Another one would be that it's just a lease, right? That it's just a different kind of financial method. It's actually not a lease. The big difference between a lease is that you're going to have a flat payment every month because you've negotiated ahead of time what you think you're going to use, but you don't really know. Where in the metered environment of GreenLake, you're going to actually be paying for what you get.
I would love to have that model be a part of my car lease, right? If during COVID I wouldn't have even had to pay a bill, they would have had to pay me to have the car, right?
No kidding. Yeah. Well, so let's talk about the BTC then. I guess, Jon, will you kind of give us an overview? I mean, what then can the BTC do for Ingram Micro partners that are looking to integrate GreenLake opportunities?
Yeah. So the Business Transformation Center, I'd say from a high level, people say we're a demonstration and a proof of concept facility. We do a lot more than that. We have hardware and we're willing to let people utilize this hardware. But I would say, across the board, anytime HPE releases new technologies or new initiatives, we're here to make sure from a technical perspective that resellers understand this technology and are able to go to market with it. When they start to get opportunities or find opportunities, we're here again to show their end users that this technology is the best thing since sliced bread or whatnot. So we can do a lot in the flavor of GreenLake, or what we're speaking about today. I have the full suite of solutions that can certainly show what they'll call GreenLake Central, which is the capacity planning and pricing or billing that they'll see as a part of this solution. But I also have the other side of the day in, day out maintenance. Again, talking about Aruba Central, the Data Services Cloud Console for storage, compute ops, the backup and recovery service. I have all those to be able to show customers. I'm sure there's a lot of people that are out there right now going, oh, this sounds interesting, but I wonder what that really means. And I'm here to make sure that they understand it. And I'm a free resource for resellers so they can use me and abuse me. As long as we're all making money, I'm happy to do that.
Right. And Russ, is there anything that you would add to that as far as the benefit that Ingram Micro brings to its partners? I mean, what is unique, I guess, about the Ingram Micro and GreenLake HPE relationship there?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, so there's a lot to the Ingram Micro value add from our technical account managers that can help build bill of materials to configure these solutions. They know how to size them. I think in the old traditional method, you don't get the distributor involved until the PO is ready to get cut. That's not the motion in GreenLake. We encourage that our partners get involved early because our technical account managers aren't just creating bombs as a courtesy. They're actually sizing them correctly so that they can get the most out of the GreenLake financial model. So we want to make sure that they're sized appropriately to fit into the model. And then we can also say, okay, we live in a world with part constraints. The type of equipment that you're looking for, it's not going to be a quick path. And so we've got some alternatives. We have some other configurations that will perform similarly or better. And so we can kind of smooth the path for the quickest way to get a quote as part of that. But about the BTC, I would say it goes back to our point about the cloud being an experience and not a destination, right? And so if that's your kind of motto, well, then you need to provide a venue for our partners and their end users to have that experience. So we've had partners who've closed deals come back to us and they say, hey, we talked to this end user and the end user told us, you sold us on the value of the model, of the business model. But once we actually got it and started playing around with it, we found out that GreenLake Central, this user interface that you have, man, that's worth it alone. We would have bought this whole system just for GreenLake Central, right? And so in that particular deal, the partner had focused on the value, the financial value of the model, and that's what was enough to close the deal. But we've learned that GreenLake Central can carry a lot of deals by its own. So the ability to get into the Business Transformation Center with Jon, to touch this stuff, to see how it actually works, to fiddle around in GreenLake Central, we think that brings a lot of value and lets the partner and the end users have that cloud experience for themselves.
Well, so as we start to wrap up our episode, we always ask our guests the same final question. And you've heard probably this question before, but where do you see technology going in the next year? It can be this particular technology, or it can be, just kind of technology at large. Jon, I'll start with you.
Yeah, the as a service model is going to continue to grow. It's certainly a focus where HP is going. That's why GreenLake exists, is to kind of have this as a service model. And the expansion of that and the capabilities of that, I can tell you that within the GreenLake interfaces, it's updating and new features and functionality are being added all the time. As a matter of fact, I'm a part of some of their beta programs. There's a lot of exciting things that are coming down the pike that people are going to be glad to see in their environment, new opportunities that they can present to their end users who are using these solutions today. One thing I would like to point out with GreenLake, you can pick and choose, just like the cloud, which services you want to use. And there's just going to be more services they're going to add into those environments.
Russell, how about you?
All right. So Jon's was probably a little more technical and probably more accurate. Mine's a little more dreamy, but I think that the whole work from home movement, everybody's trying to search how to connect, how to spend better time together. And, it seems like every day a new paper is being published on another progress of AI or augmented reality. And so I maybe not in the next year, but I definitely see those technologies coming together. And that I think we're going to leave the web page based kind of experience, this two-dimensional flat space that we hang out in, and that we'll see more kind of AI fueled augmented reality experiences where we can connect with one another.
So for listeners who had questions about anything that we talked about today or want to find out more, how can they reach out?
Certainly. You reach out to your Ingram Micro sales representative. They'll know how to get in touch with the BTC. Right? You can reach out to me or Russ. If you want to keep in touch with what HP is doing within the Business Transformation Center, I do maintain a YouTube site. You can just go up to YouTube and search Ingram and BTC, short for Business Transformation Center, and I'll pop up to the top. There I have a series of GreenLake videos that I'm working on. I just done one on GreenLake Central, and I have some others on the Data Services Cloud Console, but you can stay tuned to these different features that are up there. But I'm here, so leverage me to win out some opportunities.
Excellent. Well, that does do it for today's episode. Jon and Russell, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Shelby.
Absolutely. Thank you for having us.
And thank you, listeners, for tuning in and subscribing to B2B Tech Talk with Ingram Micro. If you like this episode or have a question, please join the discussion on Twitter with the hashtag B2B Tech Talk. Until next time, I'm Shelby Skrhak.
You've been listening to B2B Tech Talk with Ingram Micro. This episode was sponsored by Ingram Micro's Imagine Next. B2B Tech Talk is a joint production with Sweetfish Media and Ingram Micro. Ingram Micro production handled by Laura Burton and Christine Fan. To not miss an episode, subscribe today on your favorite podcast platform.